feel like that's against the spirit of the question to be like, I would pick Tim Tebow and then run around him so I wouldn't take any hit. It's like me saying if Aaron Donald tried to tackle me with one arm, I'd just break it and keep going. How's it going, everybody? Welcome back to, I want to say, the 7th episode of Stay Hot. I'm joined here by Blaiden Kirk and luckily Theo Ash. We've got a lot of interesting stuff planned for this episode, but I'm really excited that Theo was able to join us this time.
I'm excited to be back for this time. I was doing very, very important, life-saving, world-changing work last time, which is why I missed it.
We're sure. We're just happy you could bless us with your presence today.
I just couldn't miss what I was doing last episode.
Big news though. This episode is going to be the pilot episode on YouTube. You can search up Blue Wire on YouTube and you should be able to find it, or maybe Stay Hot Podcast. Either way, you're going to find us on YouTube from here on out. So if you don't like listening on Spotify or Apple, or if you just want to see, our faces when you're listening, check out the YouTube. We also have a new Stay HotLine phone number that you can call, 614-349-8050. If you leave us a voicemail or a question there, we might respond to it on the podcast. We want to get into doing some mailbag stuff. That'll probably be the best place to do it. If you want to write us something, there's an email, stayhotpodcast@gmail.com, that you can go to, and we'll start doing a mailbag between those two things every so often. As always, remember to subscribe, rate, review the podcast. Blaiden is going to read off a couple of the reviews that we've gotten today.
Yeah, so we're going to start off hot with my boy, Aiden87, bro. He gave us 5 stars. We love to see that. Subject is Theo talks too fast. He says, sometimes I'll be listening, and I think I'm on 2 times speed because Theo is talking hella fast. But then I hear Matt and Blaiden talk. So, Theo, I want to know your thoughts on that. Do you think you talk too fast?
Well, I actually have a side gig as an underground rapper in the Phoenix area, so that's a little bit, that's just, I guess, a side effect of my side career. I'll try to slow it down, though.
We like it. Then we have another 5-star rating from Dunk24_. Subject is Matthew Spawnhour, my MVP favorite. And he says, if you look at this guy, he has all the tools. Speed of Daniel Jones, arm strength of Daniel Jones, accuracy of Daniel Jones. I can't even say this with a straight face. Smarts of Daniel Jones, looks of Daniel Jones, and is going to an elite team in the Lions. I can see him breaking out in his rookie year in Detroit. Watch out, NFL. Matt, you're being compared pretty heavily to Daniel Jones. What are your thoughts on that?
That was my pro comp, so it makes sense. But yeah, I think if I can do what he does for the Lions, big things.
I hear that he has elite ball placement.
I've heard that too.
So I guess that's not a bad person to get compared to.
Very fair.
Well, the first segment we were going to be talking about today, they just released the schedules, and I kind of think that the NFL maybe makes a little bit too big a deal of the schedule drop.
I also agree
oh my God, every
I do not
team
care
is
that much.
But to be fair, there is nothing else. There is nothing else going on in football until July.
Well,
so what else are they supposed to do other than make a big deal about it?
I guess, but I feel like the social media teams that create those videos care more than any of the fans. And not to say that they're not fun to watch.
They have the countdown. They're 24 hours until the schedule release. Also, it would maybe be different if we didn't know the teams that we were playing for.
Yeah.
No one knew. But everyone knows what teams we're playing. It just is, the order is released. So it's okay.
Yeah.
But it is exciting to finally have a little bit of a, you can see where your, rough patches and where your easy stretches are going to be. I enjoy it a little bit, but yeah, they make it sound like the draft. They make it sound like the Super Bowl.
Yeah, seriously.
Yeah.
But I'm looking at the week 1 schedule right here, and I want to talk about some games that we're excited for. Now, I know that I could pick, one of these really good ones, but genuinely the game that I am most excited to watch is Jaguars Texans. I'm dead serious.
I can see the excitement that exists.
Seriously.
Yeah.
I have no dog in that fight. They're both AFC teams. I'm a fan of the Panthers NFC team, but I'm so interested to see what the Texans are going to look like next year, because not only do they not have like a very talented roster, but they just have like a ton of guys on that team. And, you know, they got Tyrod and Davis Mills. Like, I don't know what their quarterback situation is. They got 100 running backs that they've brought onto the team. And then with the Jaguars, you know, they got Trevor Lawrence, who I'm excited to watch. Obviously, anytime you get to see a number 1 overall pick play, that's going to be fun. But I want to see what Urban does, and I want to see what they do with all those running backs, and if they can use them properly, if they're just going to be like, screw it and not play one of them. But I want to hear what game you guys are most excited for, looking at the ones that they've got for week 1.
Well, I might let Blaiden take this, but Cleveland, Kansas City is a pretty good week 1 game.
I would talk about it. But maybe I'm a little biased. So I'll let you cover this one, Theo. I have another one in mind that I do.
I also have another one in mind. That one's pretty obvious. I mean, we've talked twice on this podcast now about how Cleveland matches up with Kansas City, and it's cool that we'll be able to get that answer right away. And also, I can see on the ESPN thing that I'm looking at all the ticket prices, and that game is a lot more expensive than a lot of the other games here. So that's got some intrigue.
Yeah, I can imagine.
The one I don't know if I'm most excited for it, but one I'm super, super interested in is Miami and New England. Both, I assume Cam will be starting week 1. That's a little bit of projection. That's a little bit of intrigue. And if he is, you've got 2 quarterbacks that have a lot to prove this year, I think, and 2 quarterbacks that have faced a lot of scrutiny in Tua and Cam. And, you know, the excuses are kind of gone for both of them now. And, you know, that'll be a good game to kind of, and Flores versus Belichick is kind of an intriguing matchup to me, since, you know, Flores comes from the Belichick tree. You know, seeing Waddle is going to be interesting. You know, maybe Mac Jones is there. But overall, I just think like Flores versus Belichick is going to be a nice chess match. And I'm excited to see, you know, how Cam and Tua come out looking.
Yeah, the Patriots have a lot of big games this year. A lot of ones that I'm excited to watch. You know, they play the Buccaneers later, like week 4, and apparently Brady's like lined up to break the passing yards record that game.
Oh man!
And then obviously, you know, Tom Brady's never beaten Cam Newton before, so that'll be big for him if he can figure that out.
How many games have they played? 2.
2.
Yeah.
He's 0-2. I mean,
2-game sample size. Yeah. All right, Blaiden, how about you?
I mean, what can we say? It would be really easy for me to sit here and pick like the Cowboys Bucks. It's like, oh, primetime game. We get to see Dak come back. Buccaneers coming off Super Bowl champion. I'm going to go with Bears and Rams. We get to see Justin Fields for the first time. I'm really excited to see Fields play. I think he's going to be really.
We might.
Come on. Could. Don't look.
It could be exciting to see Justin Fields. But okay, for instance, like the Chargers didn't start Herbert week 1 over Tyrod Taylor. So I don't think
Justin Fields. You're going to start Andy Dalton. You're going to start
Tyrod Taylor. Totally reasonable to like.
Okay, but the argument with Tyrod was like at least he had been to a playoff game recently. Like Andy Dalton was horrible last year. At least like you could somehow feasibly make an argument to start Tyrod. You could not make an argument to start Andy Dalton.
I will bet you that Dalton starts week 1.
And you know what? I'd start Dalton week 1 no matter what.
Really?
Yep. Guarantee you. No, it does not matter.
I wouldn't.
I'm not putting my rookie quarterback who's played like 18 games in college in his first game up against the Rams.
That is true. The Rams is kind of
I'm good. I'll play him the rest of the 15 games. If you want to say that Justin Fields should just start, and if he sucks, like that's fine. He needs experience. I would agree with that, but I'm not putting him in his first game against the Rams.
I don't know what I would do there.
Regardless of if Fields play, I do want to see Stafford. I want to see how Stafford looks.
I'm excited for that.
That's really what I'm most excited for.
Against the Bears, Stafford against the Bears too. So like opponent you're very familiar with. So that could end up being a pretty lopsided LA win if Stafford is legit. But I'm super excited to see McVay and Stafford. That's Rams are my NFC Super Bowl pick, which I've said multiple times. So hopefully they get off to a good start.
I think we're all in consensus there.
Are we? I thought
I like the Rams a lot.
I thought Matt chose the Bucks.
I did. I think the Bucks are going to make it out of the NFC, but like Rams wouldn't shock me or anything. They'd probably the team I'd expect to be facing them in the NFC Championship game. I agree that the Rams-Bears should be good, but I kind of don't want Fields to start that game because, you know, I'm a Ohio State fan. I'm very scared if he is.
Yeah, that's fair. He has to play against Aaron Donald, Jalen Ramsey.
And they won that game, if I remember, but it didn't.
I think they did. It was because Goff just could not do anything against their cover zero. They just blitzed him all day with the like amoeba fronts, and Goff just had no idea what he was doing.
Yeah.
But Tua also, unlike his first drive, just like fumbled, and I don't think Tua had a very good game. But they did win.
Yeah.
And week 8, it's so weird to see week 18. That's cursed.
It's
that game. I'm looking forward in the week 18 game. I mean, more football is more football, and I'm excited to see like going to the last week of the season, Seattle and Arizona. Both of those Seattle Arizona games were pretty good last year, and I don't know how that NFC West is going to shake out. I'm not. I mean, I think the Rams are the best team there, but they could very easily be the worst. Like all those teams are great. And like last game of the year, Seattle, Arizona, I think that's going to have some pretty big playoff implications. And I'm excited to see that one in the newfound week 18. And LA is playing San Francisco there. So I'm excited for that entire NFC West matchups in the last week of the season.
I wonder if they'll end up adding another bye week at some point. I kind of think that's the next logical step, that they'll have 19 weeks and 2 byes. I could see that happening eventually.
I agree.
Reasonable.
That's what the players seem to want. So we'll see if I don't know when the next CBA is. It's probably a long time from now. But when that rolls around again, it wouldn't surprise me if another bye week gets added, because it's not going to like hurt anyone.
Well, before we hop into kind of strength of schedule stuff, Theo, I'm sure everyone's wondering, are we going to the Browns-Packers game on Christmas?
On Christmas? I don't know if I can justify spending Christmas with Blaiden Kirk away from my family, but maybe I can sneak out and do that. Hopefully we ruin your Christmas though, Blaiden. I hope your Christmas sucks. I hope it's ruined. Sorry.
No, it's fair. It's fair.
The Packers are the hardest team to project for next year.
Yeah,
from what I've seen.
We're going to suck if there's no Rodgers. Our schedule is absolutely brutal if we're going to try to transition to strength of schedule. The Packers from week 7 to 17, they play Washington, playoff team. I think they play, who else? It'll go too long if I just go through them all. They play Arizona. I know they play Minnesota, LA. I think they play the Browns, and they do on Christmas. They play the Bears, who are a playoff team and now have a better quarterback. It's brutal. And I think, if it's even with Rodgers, like they could go 500 over that stretch. Like it's that crazy. And if we don't have Rodgers, like the Packers are not going to be any good.
Well, I was just going to say, I think it's really interesting. The AFC North, everyone in the AFC North has a top 10 hardest schedule just based on opponent record from last year. The Steelers have projected most difficult, Ravens second, Bengals are tied for 6th, and the Browns are 9th.
Yeah, a lot of that just has to do with like your division's winning percentage. So that's why the question they want us to answer here is Cowboys and Eagles have the 2 easiest schedules. They have the 2 easiest schedules because they're in the NFC East. So how much does that matter? It matters a lot, but it also kind of doesn't matter. Once you get to the playoffs, there's no easy games, and if you're not a good team, you're not going to do anything. But yeah, you look at the Cowboys and Eagles schedule. Not a ton of tough games. So I could totally see the Cowboys, winning 9 games, making the playoffs or something, just because they get to play the Eagles twice, Washington twice, Giants twice. Who I don't think any of those teams are like going to lay over, and any division game is tough. But none of those teams are juggernauts either.
I would agree with that. There's one team that I thought it was super key. The Jets start with 3 easy games, and that's super key because I don't think that I know you're going to take some offense to that because they play the Panthers week 1.
Seems like they start off with a really tough game week 1.
It could go worse because you have a rookie quarterback I assume that Wilson's going to be a week 1 starter. I don't think there's much competition there for him. And Carolina's secondary, I guess New England is maybe it's not so easy, but New England could be tougher. Their secondary is pretty good. What am I looking at?
I'd consider New England to be a pretty tough game.
And then they have a good... Never mind. I'm an idiot. They do have kind of a tough
all those teams are like super, super good. I can't imagine that he's
contradicting himself.
I do. Okay, never mind.
I mean, the Jets have like a pretty average schedule. It's not
the Panthers is a medium game to start off on. The Patriots, I feel like going up against the Patriots week 2 will be tough.
Yeah, they'll probably throw a bunch of fronts at Wilson.
Yeah, that might be a tough game for him.
You know Belichick likes to really mess with rookie quarterbacks.
I was looking at their schedule last night and it seemed easy, and now I'm looking at it this morning and I'm like, wait, that's not easy. That's not easy secondaries at all. So I'm sorry.
I remember when Belichick first played Sam Darnold, and Sam Darnold looked as terrified as I've ever seen any NFL player ever. It was ridiculous. He just blitzed him the entire first half. Then in the second half, he would show blitz, back off, and Darnold threw like 4 interceptions. It was horrible.
A lot of Panthers hate on this episode, huh?
I don't think the Panthers are going to be any good. And like, I just don't. The secondary is like very questionable. Darnold is very questionable. The offensive line is kind of questionable. Like, are realistically, if I set the over under at like 7.5 wins, what would you do? Like, I think I would go under pretty easily there. And I think that like they essentially have no shot to win the division. So like, I don't want to do it, but like I feel like the Panthers are not like in a super great position this season. I'm sorry.
What is there? What are the Vegas? What is the over under for them?
I think 7-8 wins is probably fair for them. I can't lie, but their Vegas. I have no idea what their Vegas over under is.
Well, it is. I'm looking at it right now. The Panthers are at 7.5 for their over under. I would probably take the over if I'm being totally honest. But
over on 7.5.
I can understand.
I would crush the under there.
Over by like in the sense that like I think they get 8, maybe 9. But like
I don't think they're 5. I don't think they're 500 in that division. I don't, and that's pretty much. I mean, 8 and 9 is not 500, but it's essentially 500. If in the
Panthers, the Panthers' goal will be to win 2 games in that division. And then once you're taking 6-year games, and you're saying, I hope we go 2-4, and then let's look at the rest of the schedule. It's gonna be tough to get to 8 games. A lot of it comes down to Sam Darnold. Let's say that Sam Darnold is like the 20th best quarterback, which is probably average expectations for him, I guess. Even then, the Panthers might not win 8 games. Because, like, I agree. Who knows how good the offensive line is going to be? I'm willing to bet that most people listening can't name both our starting safeties, and I wonder if the Panthers even know who both their starting safeties are right now.
Their own defensive coordinators, like, man, I hope they're good, whoever they are.
But not saying they don't know the players, saying that they might not know who they're going to pick to start.
Defensive coordinator shows up. Wait, who's on my team?
We talk about him every single podcast. I have hope for him, but there definitely are more things. There's more question marks than there are sure things on that team.
Yeah. I think the AFC South is also super interesting because I think all of those teams are a little bit bad, and that could create some chaos, especially with the Jaguars having, this generational talent at quarterback. Like, I look at the Jaguars schedule, I see Texans, I see Broncos, Cardinals, Bengals, Titans, Dolphins, Seahawks, Bills, Colts. That's kind of a, tough run there. But overall, I think that like a team that, like, if you're Trevor Lawrence and you get this schedule and, maybe Urban Meyer actually is good. Like, I think that the Jaguars are a team that, based on their schedule and based on the guy they just got to run that offense or to be quarterback, I think that they are the number 1 worst to first contender in the league right now.
Are you saying the Jaguars are going to win the division?
I don't know if I'll go so far as to officially predict that, but I think that they could. I think if I had to pick a team to go worst to first, I'd pick Jacksonville. Yeah.
The whole division being good kind of comes down to Carson Wentz being good.
Yep.
If Carson Wentz is rough, and I'm not saying that he will be, I just think there's a wide range of outcomes for him next season. The Colts aren't going to be that good. They have a talented roster around them, but the Colts aren't going to be that good if they don't have a quarterback.
The Titans,
we're low on the Titans, and then
the Titans' defense is pretty questionable. Although I will say that I think Farley's good, and I don't love Dupree, but like the Titans are a very big if on defense, and we'll see how they are on offense without really anyone outside of AJ Brown as a wide receiver, and one Derrick Henry injury could kind of spoil things a little bit, and losing Arthur Smith. I don't know. I think maybe I will predict the Jaguars to win the division. Why not? Like, what's the harm? I think I'll do it. I think the Jaguars win that division, and they do it at like 8-9. that's my AFC
8-9.
South prediction. They win the
It's like when
AFC
the Panthers
South
won the
8
division
and
at
9.
7-8-1.
Yeah, or Washington last year, how many wins did they have? Like 6, 7? I think we see the same thing in the AFC South this year, and I think
I could
they
see
win.
it. It's not impossible, but then again, I kind of think that Carson Wentz will be serviceable, and the Colts are going to end up taking that division.
Fair enough. That's probably more likely, but I still don't think it'll happen. I think the less likely thing is going to happen.
Another team that I wanted to talk about here for a second is the Steelers, because that is a very hotly debated team on Twitter right now about how good they're going to be. Yeah. I am very worried about Big Ben lasting the entire season. I'm not a fan of old quarterbacks typically because I don't think that they can play through an entire NFL season without kind of falling apart. And the Steelers definitely fell apart last season. I made a video saying that, they're 11-0, and it doesn't matter who you've played or how much you win by. If you're 11-0 in the NFL, you're not that bad. And then they went 5-1 or 1-5 from there on out. So it was very cool of them to do that. So now I don't think that their team significantly improved. They lost a decent amount of pieces in free agency, if I remember correctly. I don't think Najee Harris is going to be a big difference maker for them. So that team definitely could be good if Ben comes out and plays well, but that's a big question mark at his age through an entire season.
I mean, at the end of the season, was there a single team you actually trust the Steelers to beat? Any team? No. I don't think there was. No. I don't think I had any confidence in them winning any game at the end of that, at the tail end of that season.
They lost to Cincinnati.
Yeah, without even Burrow, they were playing with Ryan Finley. So
exactly. Without Burrow, they lost to Cincinnati.
And if their defense isn't quite as good as it is this year, or this year as it was last year, which is pretty possible, I think the Steelers could be a bottom 5 team in the league, and it's more likely that they're bottom 5 than they make the playoffs, in my opinion. I literally think.
No, I completely agree. I see Matt. You're looking at Theo like he's crazy.
It's not. I
crazy. Completely agree.
I still think they have some pieces on defense. So I would project against that happening.
Here's the problem. The defensive trends, offensive talent year to year, is not that different, right? Like the Chiefs were great on offense last year. The Bucs were great on offense last year. They're probably going to be great on offense this year. But having a great defense year to year is really hard to do.
I don't disagree with that.
I don't see the Steelers.
I'm not saying that they're going to go out and have the best defense, right? But I still think their defense is decent. I still think they have pretty good wide receivers. Their offensive line has become a little bit more. They've had a lot of the scenario in which they're a bottom 5 team is that Big Ben comes out and immediately it's obvious that he's stayed in the league too long, or he gets hurt and then they have to start Mason Rudolph, and then I could see that happening. But even though I'm not a big believer in them, I think they'll be better than Haskins. Won't start over Mason Rudolph almost certainly. I would bet.
Come on.
Haskins is terrible. Haskins is awful. These it wouldn't surprise me if he's a camp body and doesn't make the team, the final 50.
Yeah, I think that's more likely than Haskins coming. And they paid Rudolph $5 million to come back. So
did they really? I didn't see that. But
yeah. Anyway, I think the way the Steelers looked at the tail end of that season, I just don't see him coming out at the beginning of this one and just with the same kind of cast of characters, plus Najee, who is probably going to be a good running back, but really how much does that contribute to wins and losses? Probably not all that much. Right. I see the Steelers as picking in the top 10 in the upcoming draft and picking the heir to Ben Roethlisberger. That's just how I see it happening.
Yeah, and I'm really eager.
After that, they could be.
I'm really eager to predict the Bengals to actually finish higher than the Steelers in the division. I think the Bengals are better offensively. The only thing is the defense just doesn't look there, but I think at least the O-line isn't great. That's really the only question mark, but neither is the Steelers. Running backs probably about equal. Receivers, I'm gonna lean Bengals on receivers, and I'd probably pick Burrow over Ben Roethlisberger.
I can see that. Yeah.
That's not a terrible take.
All that. Yeah.
Kind of just comes down to if the Steelers' defense can sustain being really, really good.
That's what it's going to be.
I don't want to sleep on them too much because I do think that defense is good.
Some of my best predictions have come on just predicting teams with really good defenses to be bad the next year. Like the Jaguars after 2017, the Bears after 2018.
Yeah, I was watching your Khalil Mack video the
49ers this year, the Patriots. If the number one way to look smart, in my opinion, is to take whatever team had a unsustainably good defense and a bad offense and then say they're probably not going to be all that great the next season. And maybe that's Washington, maybe that's Pittsburgh. I don't think I'm picking either of those teams to win their divisions again, just because it's hard. It's so hard. And a lot of defense is just being in the right spot at the right time when the quarterback makes a bad throw and there's extra picks.
Yeah.
I don't know. I feel like when I've looked my smartest, it's been predicting teams with really good defenses to regress. And, I think I've got to keep doing that and say the Steelers are going to suck.
I think Washington got better, though. I like the moves that they made. I think that I do. I think I mean, like,
no. I'm laughing because the producer just said, "When have I looked my dumbest?"
I thought you were laughing like,
I'm not laughing at you, man. I'm not laughing at you. They're just like, "When have I looked my dumbest?" Well, last year, some of my I thought the Lions were going to win the division last year, and
that's rough.
That's probably when I looked.
That's
my
rough.
Dumbest. I thought I liked Stafford. I liked Galladay. I liked Swift, and I thought their offensive line was pretty good. With Akuda getting in and Hand and Trey Flowers. I'm blanking on his name. Trey Flowers. I thought their defense would be pretty good. I was low on the Packers after the 2020 draft. I was low on the Vikings. I was low on the Bears. I was like, this is my big hot take. The Lions are going to win that division. I like the roster. And then, of course, they picked like third or fourth or seventh is where they picked. Yeah. But yeah, that was probably like when probably my worst take, but I wasn't big on TikTok or anything then. So I don't think anyone saw that.
No, that's anyway, how it is.
Matt, what were you saying? Matt?
Something about Washington not being that bad. I think they'll win like 8-9 games. I like Fitzpatrick, good weapons.
Yeah, no, I don't hate Washington at all. I don't know if they win that division again. I think Dallas might have that. I think it'll be Dallas or Washington. I think I'll lean Dallas, but I could be wrong.
But that's really how it is with TikTok stuff. It's like if I made a hot take 2 years ago and I'm wrong, who cares?
Who cares?
I make a hot take now and I get it wrong. Like, let's say you said the Lions thing when you have 100,000 on TikTok. That's it for you, man. You're done.
That's it. I remember after the Steelers started losing after you said that they were good, Matt was down atrocious after that was going down.
So
he's like,
annoying.
I'm ruined. He's like texting me.
And my point on that video still stands. Win differential and like strength of schedule. Obviously that stuff matters somewhat, but you can't do better than 11-0. If you're 11-0, you're not a bad team. And then they fell out. They got worse after I made that video. It's not like it was the same team and they just started losing.
They were just playing harder teams. Yeah, no, they just
started losing.
Ben obviously regressed. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I think strength of schedule matters a lot. And the Steelers are part of the reason why I think when you're playing a bunch of weak and yeah, the Steelers do come into that. But if you're playing a bunch of weak sauce teams and then like you start and you're winning all the games, I don't think that actually means this is a different sport, but look at Gonzaga. Like basketball, they like never ever win anything they win a lot of games in the tournament, but they never win the tournament, even though they're always like the 1 seed because they play like, whatever small team in California. Like, I don't even know, but I do think strength of schedule matters a lot. And so I guess that's kind of where the schedule release does have some merit of being worth the hype. But you got to win 4 tough games in a row. And if you're beating up on cupcakes, that doesn't really indicate your ability to do that. And I think the Steelers were a good example.
Yeah, that's fair. I was just saying that, like, if you're 11-0, what else are you supposed to do?
Right.
Yeah. Oh, well, I guess blow out your opponent. That might be the other thing.
They were a good defensive team, so I'm like, okay, well, that's how they're just going to beat teams.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's
but fair. I'll take the L on that one.
I'm a little bit concerned that the Packers are going to start good and like maybe start 6-1, 7-0 if Rodgers is there. And then we're going to just get absolutely bombarded down the stretch. So like, we'll see if I'm a little bit concerned about my team being the Steelers of this year, beating up on some cupcakes. And then you get that death run in the second half of the season.
Yeah. It's saying which teams could get trouble down the stretch is something we're supposed to talk about.
I don't know.
But I haven't really studied like every single team's schedule that heavily. I know the Panthers go Bills, Tampa Bay, Saints, Tampa Bay as their last 4 games. And I can tell you right now, I'd be happy to get one.
Right. Right.
Saints. I think you get the Saints game.
Yeah, maybe you can be one.
Well, we're doing something a little bit different today. We're playing a game. Our producer Alex is going to lead us into a game of Would You Rather, NFL edition.
Gentlemen, are we ready?
Ready as I'll ever be.
How's it going? I'm ready.
Fantastic. So, yeah, you guys can weigh in each after, but I'm going to ask you individually as well. So, Theo, we'll start with you. Would you rather be Carson Wentz, fresh start in Indy, but with a ton of pressure to succeed, or Jared Goff, who seemingly has no expectations to succeed in kneecap-biting Detroit?
Oh man. I think I would rather be in Indy's. I think I'd rather be Carson Wentz with all the pressure than Goff with no pressure, because Goff has no pressure because everyone thinks he's bad. And I'd rather not everyone think I'm bad. And also he's probably going to be bad because he has no weapons, and it'll probably be I don't know if the end of his career, but maybe the end of his stint as, an undisputed starter. Wentz, Pittman's pretty good. His head coach was someone he succeeded with in Philadelphia. So I feel yes, everyone will hate me if I fail, but that kind of goes for both of them. And I feel like Wentz is in a better position to succeed. So I would rather be Wentz than Jared Goff. And I kind of think Wentz will have a better season than Jared Goff. So Wentz to whatever the question is.
I can't disagree.
Yeah, I'd have to agree with you too. I don't think there's any way you could choose Goff.
Okay. Matt.
Mm-hmm.
Would you rather be rookie running back Najee Harris, where the backfield is most likely just yours, but with a rough O-line? Or would you rather be Travis Étienne, your favorite player, where you'll split time?
I'd rather be Najee Harris. Najee Harris is in a position to get a ton of touches, rack up a ton of yards. And even though I don't think the Jaguars' offensive line is that crazy stacked or anything, but if Travis Etienne has to be in a committee backfield for his entire rookie deal, he's not going to go out and get a big contract. Whereas with Najee Harris, I'd rather be him. I feel like he can be the guy in Pittsburgh for 4 or 5 years and then maybe get a big contract and actually make some serious money, because it's hard for running backs to do that. So I'd rather be him.
I might disagree with you here just because Najee's, I think, a little old and getting a ton of touches. I think Najee is going to be 24 when the season starts. So by the time his rookie deal's up, he's going to be 28 with a ton of tread off his tires. So if you're looking at second contract, I feel like Etienne's a little bit better to be.
I could see that. Yeah, I'd have to know how the Jaguars are really planning to use Etienne. But if he's going to be truly having to split time with Carlos Hyde and Robinson, it's going to be really tough for him to rack up more than 800 yards if they just don't give him the touches.
Yeah, I can totally see
Yeah,
both.
I don't think either running back is in a particularly great situation. And again, Jacksonville's O-line isn't all that anyway. Their interior O-line's pretty solid, but I wouldn't be in love with either situation. But I'd probably go Harris too.
Yeah.
Okay.
If the Jaguars had a dominant offensive line, even though I was in a backfield, a committee backfield, I'd probably do that. And I'm not saying their offensive line's bad, but it's not like Cowboys' offensive line when Zeke came. So
Oh, right, for sure.
I'd probably still rather be Harris.
Okay. Blaiden. Would you rather be a wide receiver on the Danny Dimes-led Giants or a wide receiver on the new-look Zach Wilson-led Jets?
Oh God, you really hate me, don't you? So I guess basically the question is, would I rather be Kadarius Toney or would I rather be Corey Davis? And I think I'd rather be Kadarius Toney. I'm not in love with Daniel Jones, and I'm also not in love with Zach Wilson. But I think if there's a team that is putting their quarterback in a better situation to succeed, or at least trying to, it's the Giants. I'd say their O-line's probably a little bit better. It's questionable, but I'd say their O-line's probably a little bit better. They're getting Saquon back, so they'll have some weapons to utilize, and maybe I won't get the ball as much as I would with Zach Wilson, but I think I'd be at least playing with a quarterback who's getting more confident, feels more experienced, and potentially can get me more competent touches.
Does Jason Garrett being the offensive coordinator play into that at all? I feel like I wouldn't want him designing my role.
It doesn't, but that's fair. Jason Garrett's questionable, but do we know how good Robert Saleh is going to be?
No, I guess not. I don't know. That's a really tough question. I feel like would get more targets, and I don't trust Jason Garrett to do right by me. So I feel like I do like Danny Dimes a little bit more than I like Zach Wilson. But for me personally, I think I'd choose the Jets.
It's probably a little bit easier to get yourself some targets with the Jets. So I guess I would go there. But I don't feel super confident about either situation as a wide receiver coming in.
Fair enough. Theo, back to you. Would you rather be tackled by Aaron Donald with one arm or blocked in the open field by Tim Tebow?
I think I would rather be tackled by Aaron Donald. Like, getting blocked in the open field is Tim Tebow and both Aaron Donald are big dudes. And in the open field, like, getting blindside blocked in the open field looks like it hurts. And I don't know. I feel like Aaron Donald tackling me is just a little bit like, if it's in the trenches, I feel like I'm not going as fast. I feel like, it would hurt. And he's only got one arm in this scenario, unless it's me who only has one arm, in which case that just seems like a kick, a kick in the face there, like to hinder me when I'm getting tackled. But if he only has one arm, it's not a bunch of, in the open field, one person is moving really fast in one direction and the other person's moving really fast in the other. Tim Tebow is still like much bigger than I am. I feel like that one hurts a little bit more than, Aaron Donald's a big, scary guy, but like, at least he's not going super, super fast in the open field. Like he'd land on me, I'd be hurt. And, that would be the end of it. And maybe he'd wrap me up and throw me, which would be okay. I'd just bounce around, I think. So I would rather get tackled by Aaron Donald with one arm than get hit by really any NFL player in the open field. I'm not about that.
Any NFL player? What about like a kicker?
Maybe a kicker in the open field, but I just like.
I think you're really underestimating the fact Tim Tebow hasn't played football in 6 years. It's not even about like, oh, he's going to hit me in the open field and I have no way to defend myself. I feel like you could get around Tim Tebow. I feel like you could just like.
I think in this scenario, I have to eat the hit. I have to get tackled or take the blindside hit, or not the blindside, the open field hit.
Okay.
I feel like if I'm going to get hit, I would rather get hit in when I'm not moving super fast and he's not moving super fast, and I'd rather just.
I just feel like you have a much better shot at evading Tim Tebow than you do Aaron Donald. Even if he only has one arm.
I do, but like I feel like. I don't know. If the chance is like I'm running up to Tim Tebow or I'm running up to Aaron Donald, I would choose Tebow. But like if I had to absorb one hit, I would rather just get tackled by one arm to Aaron Donald than get, cracked in the open field by Tim Tebow's not small. Like he's still a tight end.
Yeah, he's not small.
I don't know.
Nobody on this podcast is evading. First off, you're not evading Tim Tebow. You have no chance of doing that.
You're right.
Like get up. He's getting considered to like be signed by an NFL team. It's like it doesn't matter that he hasn't played in 6 years.
Yeah, I'm just
and I feel like that's against
right
the spirit of the question to be like, I would pick Tim Tebow and then run around him so I wouldn't take any hit. It's like, oh, come on. It's like me saying if Aaron Donald tried to tackle me with one arm, I'd just break it and keep going. Like I'd rather take the Aaron Donald one arm tackle because I feel like he'll try to just roll you down or whatever. You just kind of get stopped. Tim Tebow 6'3", 245. He's an athlete.
Yeah, that's scary.
He'd crush you.
Yeah.
He crushed me.
Based. You're based. Blaiden, you're cringe.
Sorry.
Okay,
Blaiden. This is going to be the hardest question you've ever been asked. Would you rather have the Browns have the single most iconic playoff win in the history of the NFL this NFL season, but never win the Super Bowl in your lifetime? Or 2 decades more of either not making the playoffs or first-round playoff losses, leading to one very boring Super Bowl victory in 2041.
That's brutal.
I'll take the Super Bowl.
Yeah, that's easy.
No, that's not a hard question. It seems hard. You're like, oh, wow, you get a really great playoff win this year. But in 20 years, everyone's going to be like, who the hell cares? Everyone's going to be like, who the hell cares? If the Browns win a Super Bowl, that will literally make my life. That will be the happiest day of my life. I promise you.
Blaiden, you were talking about how you take the Browns over 9.5 wins, and I don't disagree with you.
Yeah.
But I've realized that since I've known you, you have never thought the Browns were going to win less than 9.5 games going into a season. Not one time has he ever thought differently.
Every single year I have ever predicted the Browns to go 10-6 at least.
Yeah, he'd always bet people at school about this, and he'd always lose. He bet someone that they wouldn't go start the season 0-8. They did. He doubled down, saying they wouldn't go 0-16, and they did. It's brutal for you.
I don't know if I would sign up for 20 more years of just being terrible. Like,
well, it's not being terrible.
Is it never being? I don't know.
It's
more fun to watch a good team,
tough,
and it ends in pain every year. But it's more fun to watch a team that's good. I would not sign up for 20 years of badness.
I see it, but that's the problem. If you pick the big playoff win, you'll never win a Super Bowl, and it's not that exciting. And if you pick the other option, then for the next 20 years your team isn't going to win the Super Bowl, and then it's not interesting or fun to keep up with.
And then right now, you could put money on it right now that the Browns would win the Super Bowl in 2041, and you would cash out and make millions. I guarantee.
The never does kind of do it, because I'd be screwing over my grandkids of the team. Like Theo shows that this team would never win a Super Bowl just so he could watch one lousy playoff win. And now it's 50 years later. No one was alive during that, and he just literally cursed the team. So yeah, I guess you're right that I can't say anything when never is involved.
Yeah, your entire fan base would hate you.
No, they're like 100 years. They're like, remember when that one ye old like podcaster sentenced us to never win? Yeah, I can't have that.
Let's finish with this. Matthew Sponauer.
Mm-hmm.
Would you rather give one corn review or listen to 10,000 Theo bird reviews?
10,000. I mean, that's like a real time commitment with the 10,000 Theo bird. It's 10,000 minutes because each one I've watched has been a minute long.
There's 18,000 bird species, so that's
I would rather watch 10,000 Theo bird reviews because then he's got to make 10,000 reviews.
Wow,
that's more of a time set. I mean, it's like all at once. I'm like strapped to a chair. I have to watch the bird reviews.
I know that I talked bad about the Panthers, Matt, but you don't really have to do this to me. Sentence me to watching.
That'd be your whole summer. It would be you for the rest of the year. Would be
that would be more than a summer. How long does it take you to make one bird review, Theo?
It takes 20 years because I'm 20 years old, and it takes that long to formulate my very distinct opinions on each bird. So it takes a long time.
You don't. Here's the thing about those review videos. You don't have to be an expert in what you're reviewing at all. You can just talk.
You're telling me you're not a corn expert?
I'm telling you that I reviewed the Monopoly pieces and what they mean if you pick them. And I don't really have any strong opinion about that, if I'm being 100% honest.
You're going to get a job offer from BuzzFeed in the next 5 days if you keep that up.
Theo, I'll give you an example. I'll do a Vaseline review like right now. This is just Beauty 360 cocoa butter petroleum jelly. Works great. 10 out of 10.
Awesome. I was enthralled. All right. Please end this before we review everything. Before I review everything in my room.
Keyboard review.
All right. Thanks for joining us today, guys. Make sure to subscribe if you're watching on YouTube. Follow us if you're watching on Spotify, or download if you're watching on Apple. Again, you can leave us a voicemail question at 614-349-8050 or email us at stayhotpodcast@gmail.com. We'll be doing mailbag for Tuesday's episode, so you've got some time to get your questions in. As always, again, rate. We'll read the rate sometime, review, and we'll see you next time.